Good greetings to you all. Today we are discussing The Trumpet Club, written by Richard Steele. Sir Richard Steele was an Irish writer, playwright, and politician, remembered as co-founder with his friend Joseph Addison of the magazine The Spectator. He was born in Dublin, in Ireland, in March 1672. The Trumpet Club indicates the growing popularity of club life in the early years of the 18th century. The word trumpet is probably used in connection with the idiom to blow one's trumpet, meaning to boast. And each member of the trumpet club does nothing but the same. So basically, it is a satire. A satirical essay speaks of how the narrator chose to relax before retiring for the night. After a hard day's work, the narrator made it his custom and routine to spend the evening in the company of men where he did not have to exercise his mind much. Their talk lulled him to sleep because it was very boring and repetitive. Then you are given the number of members in the club, and now the number of members had come down from the original 15 to 5 members. So when the club started, there were 15 members, but now as time passed, it deducted to 5 members, and where he was considered the most learned narrator, gave the members overview. First of all, Sir Geoffrey Notch, who is the oldest of the club, who has been in possession of the right hand chair time out of mind, and is the only man among us that has the liberty of stirring the fire. So that is what Geoffrey Notch is. Then here Notch indicates to make a score reference to sports. So Geoffrey Notch lost all his wealth in gambling on hounds, that means the racing dogs, horses, and cockfighting. For which reason he looks upon himself as an honest, worthy gentleman who has had misfortunes in the world, and calls every thriving man a pitiful upstart. Thus he evaluate or estimate others by his experience. Since he had such a drawback in his life, he looks at all the other people with that pitiful eye. So the second member is Major Matchlock. He is the next senior to Geoffrey Notch, who served in the last civil wars and has all the battles by heart. Just like any other soldier, he also had a lot of stories of battles to be narrated among his friends. So Matchlock means it is a kind of gun. Okay, so his greatest heroic deed was when Lenten workers pushed him off his horse during a demonstration. So this is the same old story that he repeats daily. That is why the narrator in the beginning itself referring to the meeting in the club as boring and repetitive. And the third person in the list is the old Dick Reptile. Old Dick Reptile. He is called as the honest old Dick Reptile. He is the third in the society. He is a good-natured, intelligent man who speaks little himself, but laughs by the others' jokes. And he also brings his young nephew along with him, a youth of 18 years old, to show him good company and give him a taste of the world. Okay, that's about old Dick Reptile. And about his nephew who would sit silent, or even if he passed a comment or laughed at the jokes, would be told by his uncle that you young men fools, but we old men know you are fools. Okay, so this is what old Dick Reptile would remind his nephew always whenever he laughs at the others' jokes. So in his name, this Dick Reptile, which represents a kind of snake that is slow and sluggish. Now, the greatest wit of their company, the next to the narrator, is a bencher of the neighboring inn. Bencher of the neighboring inn, he is a lawyer. His only claim to fame was that he knew the notorious Jack Ogle. He knew the Jack Ogle bell and would tell stories of his adventures. That is the only advantage that he has. So the five member was the narrator himself. The fifth one was the narrator himself, who was regarded as a man of letters. Man of letters means the most educated and intelligent person. He was by the members. He was called by the members as a scholar and a philosopher. So these are the five members who used to assemble in the Trumpet Club and crack jokes and narrate stories associated with their life, which was quite boring and repetitive for the narrator, as I said earlier. So the members meet every evening at 6 p.m. and dispersed at 10 p.m. So they join, all of them would join the club at 6 p.m. and they would leave at 10 p.m. and the conversation was the same as it was for the past few years. So on his way home, the narrator would reflect with himself the talkative nature of old men who would spin the same yarn. It means spinning the same yarn means the same incidents they repeat again and again. The same old stories they would repeat. So this made him think that when a young man began to talk over a particular incident over a period of time, the story would get elongated so long as to compete with the Canterbury Tales. As you know, Canterbury Tales, a number of long stories have been told by a band of pilgrims on their way to Canterbury Place. Canterbury, is a sacred place for the tomb of Saint Thomas Becket. So he was recollecting about the same on way to avoid getting into his pitiful, accordingly. So to the narrator is to store up knowledge and observation in their youth, and use and recall it in our old age years. So he was collecting experience by going to the Trumpet Club and listening to them, and to spend his evenings there. So this can make a man in his old age a man of wisdom. That is what he thinks, comparable to that of Nestor. Nestor is a character in Iliad, known for his wisdom and eloquence. So that's all about Trumpet Club. Hope you have understood. Thank you.